We got some Russo news. We got some of that good Russo news, Kyle. You know what I mean? You them Russo brothers. Obviously, we know the Russo brothers are returning to direct Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Now, it looks like they're going to be sticking around after that, and they are going to be overseeing the X-Men in the MCU. The Mutant Saga. Now, this isn't they're going to be directing it every X-Men film or anything like that. They're going to be overseeing it. This is sort of like a similar role to what James Gunn had before he left Marvel. James Gunn was pretty much Kevin Feige's right-hand man. And anything cosmic or alt like that, James Gunn were looking over it. James Gunn were looking over the scripts for most things for Marvel, looking at them and going, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. With him and Kevin. So, the Russo brothers are next best thing. Now, I've seen a little bit of backlash for this. I don't get why, because the Russo brothers have given us 4 of the greatest Marvel films ever. Not MCU, Marvel. 4 of the greatest comic book films ever. The Russos have given us. Now, I get it, if you look at the record after they left the MCU, it's not been so great. But they're batting 100% in this world. So I'm 100% with them looking over the X-Men. Like, maybe they will direct the first X-Men film, which I'm not opposed to either. Ask me again after Secret Wars and Doomsday come out, I might be like, no, keep them the fuck away from it. But right now, I'm up for that. I don't have a problem with it at all. The Russos have done nothing but show the talent when it comes to working in this environment. So to me, it's not an issue. And it makes sense. So Kyle, what do you think of the Russos coming in to oversee the X-Men?
It's hard to see. It is and it isn't. It's so for me. I know the X-Men are a very important aspect of Marvel. I'm not saying they're not.
The X-Men will be the thing that carry them through another 10 years after we go through this.
Yeah, and the thing is though, Callum, like, I'm not saying that they couldn't direct or they couldn't oversee it and do a good job. It's just I would much rather have them, be in charge of the main, be alongside Kevin Feige and controlling more of the main MCU aspect of it. And I guess it does take a bit of weight off Kevin Feige's shoulders that he doesn't have to worry about the X-Men as much because it's in good hands. I get that. But at the same time, Kevin Feige's not going to be able to do all this by himself. And I think it would have been nice if, I'm not saying the Russos won't help in other aspects of the MCU going forward. But I just... Yeah, it's fair to say yes to it because they have a fantastic track record when it comes to Marvel stuff. But for me, I would have much more preferred them focusing on the Avengers kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Right. That aspect of it. But I'm up for it. I'd like to see what they do. They haven't disappointed me so far, at least when it comes to Marvel projects. I mean, outside of that, like you said, it's not been too hot, but it's good to know that they're sticking around though, and I'm happy that they are. It means they didn't just come back to the MCU and be like, directing the Avengers films as like, oh well, fuck it, we'll just do it because everyone wants us to do it, and Marvel paying us a big bag of Marvel money. Instead, it's more like, okay, no, we're sticking around now, and we're gonna go fully invested into it. Going forward for the Russo brothers, though, outside of Marvel, this is very much like, okay, it doesn't seem like they're going to do anything else now. They're going to be very much Marvel-focused, and that's fine. That's okay. It's a moneymaker. Who wouldn't want to? And, it's become... These comic book characters and these movies have become so big in their own right. They're in a league of their own. Yeah, they're not Scorsese level of quality or anything like that, but they're up there and people enjoy these films, like Captain America, you were saying.
Soldier.
Yeah, you were saying as well, like, previously, not today, but you've said people aren't sick of, Marvel movies or comic book movies. They're just sick of shit films.
Yeah.
And that's true. It's very true. There's no real fatigue with it, because if there was fatigue in superhero movies, there'd be fatigue for gangster films. There'd be fatigue for war films. It doesn't exist.
What people trying to attribute it to is westerns. Say, well, westerns were the big thing, and then westerns, nobody went to go see them anymore. It's like, no. Western, I'd say a western is a genre of film. You can make a comic book movie be any genre you want. Comic book movie isn't a genre. It's just, this is based on a comic. You look at Logan, that's kind of a western. Even The Mandalorian is kind of, I know this is Star Wars, but even The Mandalorian is a western. Especially the first 2 seasons. But what I want to bring it back to, Kyle, is I think Kevin Feige would be the first man to admit that maybe he could have done with a little bit of help throughout the multiverse saga. Which, I don't blame him, if he thinks like that. I mean, I think the original plan, definitely, was to have him and James, stick around and do that together. And then obviously James went to DC. Don't blame him. James has said himself he prefers DC, over Marvel, which is fair enough as well. And for the people saying, that will, because there will be people that will turn on James Gunn, especially that Marvel fans, like, he ditched us for DC and all this and that, these salty people. And it's like, well, James Gunn's favorite film is a Marvel film, Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah. So, I mean, take that with what you will. I think he likes it all, obviously. And if you're James Gunn in your career and Marvel comes to you and says, we want you to direct this film, you're going to say yes. Obviously. And it has led on to bigger and better things for him. But yeah. Anyway, the Russos. I think it's a great choice to just look over. Be that helping hand that Kevin Feige needs. Especially when you look at how they... don't get me wrong, I love the first 2 Avengers movies. I love Avengers. And I love Age of Ultron. Joss Whedon directed them as you go back on the channel, you hear me say this quite a lot. He directed the Avengers, the 6 core Avengers, as one character. It felt like there wasn't really any individualism to each character, which worked great for them movies. But you look at how the Russos direct, and it's Cap is Cap. Yeah, fair enough. They had the benefit of like, we're going to spread this out over 2 movies, so I know I can give more time to Thor here, but give him fewer scenes in Endgame and have Cap be more prominent in Endgame. But it felt like each character was more of their own character. Instead of...
I want to say another thing as well, Callum, and I think you'll agree with me. It kind of felt like the Iron Man character, it wasn't really going anywhere. And I get it for like, the first 3, the original trilogy, of course. It just felt like there was, especially when it came to the 3rd one, I kind of felt like, what is Iron Man's purpose? Sort of moving forward, he's just kind of there now, in a sense. And, even in the Captain America film, it gave Iron Man such a great purpose.
The Russos give him a really great arc with, especially the stuff going on behind the scenes, like, where's Pepper? It's like, we're on a break and stuff. Little stuff like that. And
it's great. I agree, Colin. I have faith in this, and I think it's probably the best idea. Of course, you do have Feige there, and he will have help from all sorts of directors and fantastic people with great talent, writers and producers and the like. So I think this is fine. This is a good call. This is a good move for Marvel.
Yeah, and maybe maybe Kevin Feige were like, I need help here, and it takes a bigger person to admit when some things might be a bit too much for him.
Yeah.
So let's do it, Russo brothers, with the MCU till 2035. Let's do it. Oh, be longer than that. 2037. Fucking hell, Kyle, how old will we be in 2037? It's like halfway to dead.
I want to say another thing as well. I do feel like obviously maybe not now, but maybe in the future when they decide to go down the route of other things, you've got Ryan Reynolds there as well. Maybe he's done with Deadpool or something like that. It would be nice to see him in a sort of role of helping behind the scenes, because he knows these characters, he loves these characters, and I think it's me dreaming here, but I think Ryan Reynolds, if he was to help in some sort of way, maybe in like a trilogy or something, kind of like how Seth Rogen is now more of like a producer rather than doing acting, and he's been a part of some great projects, The Boys being one of them.
Yeah.
And it would be really cool to see Ryan Reynolds take that role if he's eventually, hangs up the katanas and he's no longer Deadpool.
I think if Ryan Reynolds got his own sort of area, it'd probably be like an X-Force.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's like something not as big and as substantial as, of course, the X-Men, but something small like the X-Force kind of stuff. I think he'd handle that very, very well. And there's Sean Levy as well. You can't forget him. He's a fantastic director. Maybe Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds maybe do like a nice sort of team up and work out the X-Force or something. Yeah. There's billions of possibilities that could happen from this. And it's... I think you're right in Kevin Feige. If he, did ask for the help, there's no shame in that. It's a good thing. I'm happy for this.
Yeah, no, definitely, because you got to think he's going to be bringing in the X-Men, right? Which is a whole new cast of characters. Which as soon as you bring the X-Men in, that's another team, with loads of different rogues and stuff like that. And I don't mean Rogue the character, like loads of different villains, complex villains who need time, to work with. And, and let's not forget, if Kevin Feige's doing the X-Men stuff, he's also got Fantastic Four, which is another team. Who knows how far the Thunderbolts is going to go after Thunderbolts, depending on the success of that. He's going to have to watch over that. There's all these other characters like Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and then possibly dealing with recasts of Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, to bring them into this new universe. So, he is going to be a busy man. And like I say, the X-Men side of it is just as big as everything I just mentioned on that other side of it, so... yeah. Anyway, Kyle, I think that'll do us for today. You enjoy that pizza, mate. Do you want to tell people? You want to tell people what to do?
Pizza.
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 Pizza. Right, guys, remember to like the video.
Pizza.
Subscribe to the channel.
Pizza.
And if you can,
pizza.
Lick your own balls, because that's pretty impressive.
And pizza.
And pizza. See you later, guys.